When the bells grow quiet, the city feels larger, not emptier, larger, as if the sound itself had been holding the buildings close together. And now that it has faded, the stone can spread, the archways can breathe, the streets can widen into the darkness. You are walking through a Renaissance city just after the bells have marked the hour. The last tone still hangs in the air, barely audible, more memory than sound. Then echo dissolves, absorbed by stone and sky, and what remains is quiet, not silence. Cities are never truly silent, but quiet, the kind that settles when the day's demands have eased and night begins its slower work. The streets are narrow, stone underfoot, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, by carts and horses and the accumulated passage of time. The stones fit together unevenly, creating a surface that is familiar to those who live here, treacherous to those who do not. Buildings rise on either side, 3 stories, 4, stone and plaster. Timber frames visible where plaster has fallen away. The buildings lean slightly toward each other, creating corridors of shadow even when the sun is high. Nalled from the moonlight and the occasional lamp, the streets are channels of near darkness. You can see windows above, small, shuttered mostly, but here and there, a faint glow. Candlelight, probably, or oil lamps. Light that suggests someone is still awake, still working, still thinking in the quiet hours when most of the city rests. The market square appears ahead. During the day, this space would be full. Merchants, buyers, voices calling out prices and qualities, the smell of bread and fish and leather and spices, the constant movement of commerce. Now it is empty. The stalls are gone, or covered. The cobblestones are bare, except for scattered debris, a few leaves, some straw, the remnants of the day's activity. The square is vast in its emptiness. The buildings that surround it seem farther away than they did when the space was filled with people. You walk across the square. Your footsteps echo slightly, bouncing off the stone facades, returning to you altered. The fountain in the center still flows. You can hear it. The soft splash of water falling into the basin, the gentle overflow draining away through hidden channels. The fountain is simple, stone, a single spout, water that comes from somewhere outside the city, carried through aqueducts, distributed through pipes, emerging here to serve those who need it. The water does not stop at night. It continues, patient and constant. You pause at the fountain, place your hand in the water, cold, clear. The basin is smooth stone, worn by the touch of countless hands dipping cups, filling buckets, washing. The water flows over your fingers, indifferent to your presence. Beyond the square, the streets resume. More narrow passages, more stone, more buildings pressing close. You choose a direction and follow it. The air carries scents, smoke from hearth fires, the faint sweetness of wine, stone dust, damp plaster, the accumulated smell of a city that is old, that has been lived in for generations, that holds the traces of everything that has happened within its walls. A wind moves through the street, soft, just enough to stir the air, to carry sound and smell from one place to another. The wind enters through an archway, moves past you, exits through another opening. The city is full of these passages, easy routes for air to flow. You pass a church. The doors are closed. The facade is dark, but the building itself has presence. Stone carved into figures you can barely see. Saints, probably, or biblical scenes. The details are lost in darkness, but the intention remains. stone-shaped to inspire, to instruct, to remind those who pass of things beyond the daily and temporal. The church bells are housed in the tower above, silent now, waiting for the next hour to mark, the next prayer to call. The bells will ring again. They always do, but not yet. A cat crosses the street ahead, moving low and purposeful. It does not acknowledge you, does not pause, just continues on whatever route cats follow through cities at night, hunting perhaps, or simply moving because movement is what cats do. The street curves, you follow it. The buildings here are slightly different, better maintained, plastered, intact. Windows with glass, not just shutters. This is where people with means live, not the wealthiest perhaps, but comfortable, secure. A window shows light. You glance up. Through the glass faintly, you can see a room, books on shelves, a desk, a figure bent over something, writing or reading. You cannot tell. The figure does not look up, does not notice you. They are absorbed in whatever work occupies them. You continue walking. More streets, more stone, more buildings. The city is a maze, but not a confusing one. Each street leads somewhere. Each turn reveals something. The pattern is organic, grown over time rather than planned, but it functions. People know their way. Strangers learn. A doorway stands open, just slightly. Candlelight spills out, a warm orange glow on the stone step. You hear voices from inside, low, conversational, not argument, not urgency, just people talking at the end of a long day. You do not enter, you pass by. The voices fade behind you. The light diminishes. The street returns to shadow. The city at night is not a single thing. It is many things happening simultaneously. People sleeping, people working, people thinking, people loving or grieving or simply existing. All of it contained within stone walls, within narrow streets, within the boundary that separates the city from the countryside beyond. But right now, in this moment, the city feels quiet. The bells have finished marking the hour. The market is empty. The streets hold only a few wanderers. The day has ended, and the night has begun. And between those two states there is this, a pause, a breath, a moment of transition. You reach a corner where 3 streets meet. A lamp hangs here. Oil, probably. The flame is small but steady, protected from wind by a glass enclosure. The light it provides is limited, a circle perhaps 10 feet across. Beyond that, shadows. You stand in the light for a moment. Look down each of the 3 streets. They all look similar. Stone, darkness, buildings rising on either side. You could follow any of them, could walk for hours through this city, turning and choosing and discovering. The night is long. There is time. You choose the street to the left. It slopes downward slightly. You follow it. The gradient is gentle but noticeable. The city is built on hills. Some streets climb, some descend. The elevation changes create variety, create different views, create the sense that the city exists in 3 dimensions, rather than just spreading flat across the ground. The day has ended. Ideas rest quietly. Tomorrow will bring its own energy, its own work, its own discoveries. But tomorrow is not here yet. For now, there is only this: stone streets, candlelit windows, the slow breath of a city settling into night. The quiet that comes when bells stop ringing and voices fade and the world allows itself to pause. The door is heavy wood, dark with age and oil. You push it open, and it moves slowly, the hinges creaking, the weight resisting before giving way. Inside, the workshop is dim. A single candle burns on a workbench near the far wall. The flame is small but steady, casting a circle of warm light across the wooden surface. Beyond that circle, the room fades into shadow, into shapes suggested rather than clearly seen. You step inside. The floor is wood, uneven. The boards creak under your weight, settling and rising as you move. The sound is familiar, comfortable. The sound of a space that has been walked across thousands of times, that knows the pressure of feet and accepts it. The air smells of oil, linseed oil, probably. The kind used to thin paint, to clean brushes, to seal wood. The smell is strong, but not unpleasant, organic. A smell that suggests work, that suggests creation. And beneath the oil, other smells. Pigment, dust, wood shavings, canvas, wax. The accumulated scent of materials gathered in one place, used and stored and left to rest until needed again. You move toward the candle. The light grows stronger as you approach, revealing details that were hidden in shadow. The workbench is long, heavy wood. The surface is stained and marked by years of use, paint spills, knife cuts, burn marks from candles placed too close to work. The wood is darkened unevenly, showing the patterns of activity, the places where hands worked most often. Brushes rest in a jar. Their handles point upward, bristles soaking in liquid, oil or solvent, something to keep them soft, to prevent the paint from drying and ruining them. The brushes are various sizes, some thick for covering large areas, some thin for detail work. Each one is a tool shaped for a specific purpose. Beside the jar, a palette, wood, kidney-shaped. The surface is covered with paint, smears and mounds of color, red, blue, yellow, white. The colors are mixed in some places, creating browns and greens and oranges. In other places, they remain pure, unmixed, waiting. The palette is wet still. The paint glistens in the candlelight, reflecting the flame in tiny highlights. The work was recent, hours ago perhaps. Or maybe the artist will return soon, before the paint dries completely, to continue whatever was started. Canvases lean against the walls. You can see them in the dim light. Wooden frames, linen stretched across them. Some are blank, primed white, waiting for monstrance. Others show the beginning of work, sketches in charcoal or chalk, rough outlines of figures or landscapes. The first layer of paint applied thinly, establishing composition, establishing light and dark. None of them are finished, or if they are finished, they do not announce it. They simply are, works in progress, stages in the long process of bringing images into being. You move closer to one of the canvases. It leans against the wall near the candle, catching enough light that you can see what is there. A figure, human. The outline is clear. Arms, legs, a head, but the details are not yet present. The face is suggested, not defined. The hands are shapes without fingers. The clothing is indicated by areas of light and dark, but the folds and textures are absent. The canvas is waiting for the artist's return, waiting for the layers of paint that will bring depth and realism and life to the figure, waiting for the time and attention that creation requires. You step back, look around the workshop, trying to see it as a whole rather than as individual objects. Shelves line one wall. They hold jars and bottles, pigments, probably, ground minerals and plants and earth. each one providing a specific color. The jars are labeled, but you cannot read the labels in this light. Just see the shapes, the suggestion of organization. Mortar and pestle sit on one shelf. Stone, heavy, used for grinding pigments into powder, for mixing colors, for preparing materials. The interior of the mortar is stained with residue, blues and reds and yellows layered over each other from countless uses. A cloth is draped over something on the far side of the room. You approach it. The cloth is canvas, heavy and paint-stained. It covers something large, a canvas probably, or a panel. Work that is being protected from dust, from accidental damage, from premature viewing. You do not lift the cloth. The work beneath is not for you. It is private, incomplete, not yet ready to be seen. Beside the covered work, a stool, simple, 3 legs, wooden seat, worn smooth. This is where the artist sits, where they position themselves in relation to the work, where they spend hours looking and applying paint and looking again. The stool is empty now. The artist is elsewhere, sleeping perhaps, or walking, or sitting in another room, thinking about what will come next, planning the layers and colors and decisions that will move the work forward. Creation pauses, but does not vanish. That is what this room shows. Work in progress, process visible, the materials and tools and incomplete images that exist between the idea in the artist's mind and the finished work that will eventually hang on a wall or stand in a chapel or be carried to a patron. You notice sketches pinned to the walls, paper, chalk or charcoal, quick drawings, studies of hands, of faces, of drapery falling across a body. Each sketch captures a moment of observation, a detail that might be useful later, a problem worked through on paper before being committed to canvas. The sketches are loose, casual, not meant to be preserved or displayed, just part of the process, the thinking made visible, the learning that happens through drawing, through looking, through trying to capture form on a flat surface. A candle stub rests on the edge of the workbench, nearly consumed. The wax has melted and pooled at the base, creating a small mound. The wick is short, burned down to almost nothing. This candle will not last much longer. Soon it will gutter out, and the workshop will be darker, illuminated only by moonlight filtering through the high window. But for now, the candle burns. The flame moves slightly, responding to air currents you cannot feel. The light wavers, creating moving shadows on the walls, across the canvases, over the workbench. You look at the palette again. The paint still wet, still workable. The colors waiting to be mixed, to be applied, to become part of something larger than themselves. Too early to call it finished. Not yet complete, still becoming. The Renaissance, if you could call it that here in this moment, is not a grand declaration, not a finished achievement, displayed for admiration. It is this workshop, late at night, materials prepared, work begun, but not completed, the slow accumulation of decisions and techniques and visions that will eventually be recognized as something new. But recognition comes later, happens elsewhere. For now, there is only the work, the daily practice, the hours spent mixing paint and applying it, and stepping back and applying it again. You move toward the door. The workshop has shown you what it has to show. The rest, the completion, the achievement, the finished works, those exist in the future, or in other rooms, or in the imagination of the artist who will return tomorrow and continue. The candle continues burning, the paint continues glistening, the brushes continue soaking. The workshop continues holding its materials, its tools, its incomplete works. You step outside, close the heavy door. The workshop returns to its privacy, its quiet concentration, its patient waiting for the artist to return. You are in another space now, similar to the first workshop but different in its details, in the specific configuration of its tools and materials. The light here comes from 2 candles, one on a table near the center of the room, another on a shelf against the wall. Together they provide more illumination than the single candle of the previous workshop. But the light is still limited, still creates more shadow than brightness. A large panel leans against an easel, wood, prepared with gesso, a white ground that provides a smooth surface for paint. The gesso is completely dry, applied days or weeks ago, waiting for the artist to begin. But the artist has begun. The panel shows paint, not much, not a complete image, just the first layer, the underpainting. Browns and grays establishing the composition, marking where light will fall and where shadows will gather. You approach the panel. The paint is still wet. You can see it glistening in the candlelight. The surface reflects the flame, creating small highlights that move as the candle flickers. The wet paint has a texture, not completely smooth. You can see brush marks, the tracks where bristles pass through the paint, leaving ridges and valleys. The paint is thin in some places, thick in others, applied with varying pressure and intention. You do not touch it. The paint is fragile in this state. A touch would leave a mark, would disrupt the careful placement of pigment. You simply look, observing the surface, the way light interacts with the wet medium. Beside the easel, a small table. It holds bowls, ceramic or wood, you cannot tell in this light. The bowls contain pigment, ground powder, each bowl a different color. One bowl holds blue, ultramarine, probably. Brown from lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone imported from far away, expensive and prized for its intense color. The powder is fine, almost like dust, but with a slight granularity when you look closely. Another bowl holds red, vermilion, perhaps, or red ochre. The powder is lighter than the blue, less dense. It catches the candlelight differently, seeming to glow faintly. A third bowl holds yellow, lead-tin yellow, possibly, or yellow ochre. The powder is bright even in dim light, suggesting warmth, suggesting sun, even in this candlelit room. The pigments will be mixed with oil, linseed or walnut oil. The oil binds the powder, makes it spreadable, allows it to adhere to the prepared surface. The mixture creates paint, wet, workable, capable of being shaped and blended and layered. A palette knife rests in one of the bowls. The blade is stained with paint. The artist uses this to mix pigment and oil, to adjust consistency, to scoop paint onto the palette for application. You notice a linen cloth on the table, draped carelessly or placed deliberately, you cannot tell. The cloth is stained with paint, wiped, brushes, cleaned hands, the accumulated residue of work. The cloth is beautiful in its way. The stains create a pattern, abstract, unintentional, colors overlapping and bleeding into each other. More canvases lean against another wall. These show more progress than in the first workshop. The images are further developed. You can see faces now, features defined, eyes that seem to look at you, though you know they are only paint. Expressions captured, sadness, contemplation, joy held in the subtle curve of a mouth, the angle of eyebrows. But even these more developed works are not finished. The backgrounds are incomplete. The clothing lacks final detail. The hands, always the hands, are still being worked on. still being refined, still being brought to the level of realism the artist seeks. One canvas shows a landscape, hills, trees, a distant city with towers and walls. The composition is established. The colors are applied, but the surface is still wet in places, still being adjusted, still becoming what it will eventually be. You move closer to this landscape. The trees are suggested rather than detailed. Masses of green and brown. The shape is right. The sense of foliage, of branches, of growth, but the individual leaves are absent. Will they be added, or is this level of suggestion sufficient? You do not know. The artist will decide. The sky in the painting is layered. You can see it even in candlelight. Lighter blue at the horizon, darker blue above. The gradation is smooth, linted carefully, creating the illusion of atmosphere, of air and distance and depth. A wooden frame rests against the wall, empty, waiting for a canvas or panel to be fitted into it. The frame is carved, decorative, gilded probably, though in this light it looks simply dark. The gold leaf invisible, without direct sunlight to bring it to life. You think about the process, about how an image comes into being. It starts as an idea, a vision in the artist's mind, or a commission from a patron who wants something specific, or simply an urge to capture something seen, a face, a landscape, a moment. Then sketches, many sketches, working through the composition, deciding what goes where, how figures relate to each other, how light will fall, how the eye will move through the image. Then preparation, stretching canvas or preparing panel, applying gesso, letting it dry, sometimes multiple layers, each one smoothed, each one creating a surface that will accept paint. Then underpainting, establishing values, light and dark, the architecture of the image, the foundation on which color will be built. Then layers, paint applied thinly, allowed to dry, more paint applied, building depth, building richness, creating the illusion of reality through the accumulation of carefully placed pigment. The process takes time, weeks, months, sometimes years for large or complex works. The artist returns daily, looks, decides, applies paint, steps back, looks again, makes adjustments, and through all of it, uncertainty. Is this right? Is this what I see? Is this what I want to say? The constant questioning that accompanies creation, but also moments of clarity, moments when the paint does exactly what is intended, when the color is perfect, when the brushstroke captures exactly the quality of light or texture or form ever sought. Both exist, doubt and certainty, struggle and ease. The work contains them all. You notice a jar of brushes on the floor beside the easel, more brushes than in the other workshop, different sizes, different shapes, some with long handles for working at a distance from the canvas, some with short handles for close detail work. The brushes are clean, or mostly clean. The bristles showed traces of paint, staining that will never completely come out, but they are cared for, maintained, respected as the essential tools they are. Without brushes, the artist's vision remains only if ushers, is the link between mind and surface, the tool that makes the invisible visible, the instrument through which intention becomes reality. A window high on the wall shows night outside. The glass is old, slightly rippled, distorting the view. Through it, you can see moonlight. Not direct, just the general illumination of a night with a moon somewhere in the sky. The moonlight does not reach the floor of the workshop, does not compete with the candles. It simply exists. A reminder that outside this room, the world continues. The city sleeps or wakes. The stars move across the sky. Time passes, whether work is being done or not. But inside this room, time feels suspended. The wet paint, the flickering candles, the unfinished works, all of it exists in the present moment, unchanging, until the artist returns and changes it. Still becoming. That phrase repeats in your mind, not as urgency, not as pressure, just as fact. The works here are still becoming what they will be. The process is not complete. The journey from vision to finished object is ongoing, and perhaps that is the most honest state. Not the finished work, polished and framed and hung, but the work in progress, the paint still wet, the decisions still being made, the creation still happening. You move toward the door. The candles continue burning. The paint continues glistening. The workshop continues holding its materials and its incomplete works, and its patient waiting for the next session of work to begin. Outside, the night continues, and the city, with all its workshops and studios and rooms where people create, breathes slowly in the darkness. The studio smells different, not oil, not pigment, stone, the mineral scent of marble. Clean, cold, ancient even when freshly cut. You step inside. The floor is covered with a fine layer of dust, white, gray, the powder that results from chisel meeting stone, from the slow removal of material that reveals the form hidden within. The dust moves slightly as you walk, disturbed by your footsteps, rising in small clouds that catch what little light exists and then settle again. The dust is everywhere, on the floor, on the workbench, on the tools, in the air itself, invisible until light finds it. A single candle burns in a holder mounted high on the wall. The flame is protected by glass, kept away from the dust that could smother it. The light it provides is weak, but sufficient. Enough to see shapes, enough to navigate, enough to suggest what is here, without revealing everything. In the center of the room, a block of marble. Large, perhaps 5 feet tall, rough on some sides where it was quarried and transported, smooth on others where work has already been done. The marble is white, not pure white. White with veins of gray running through it, patterns created by the stone's formation, by pressure and heat and time, measured in geological spans. The block is becoming something. You can see it even in dim light. The stone has been cut away in places, shaped. A form is emerging, human, the suggestion of shoulders, the curve of head, an arm. The figure is still trapped in the stone, still surrounded by excess material, but it is there, present, waiting for more stone to be removed. You approach slowly. The marble is cool. You can feel it without touching. Stone holds cold the way metal does, radiates it. The air near the block is noticeably cooler than the air elsewhere in the room. You place your hand on the stone. Cold, smooth where it has been worked, rough where it has not. The contrast is stark. The worked surface is almost polished. The rough surface is crystalline, jagged, showing the structure of the stone. Tools rest on a bench nearby. Chisels, various sizes, some with broad flat heads for removing large amounts of stone, some with pointed heads for detail work, some with toothed edges for creating texture. The chisels are iron, heavy. The handles are wood, worn smooth by hands gripping them, by the constant impact of mallet against handle. Each tool shows use, nicks in the blades, wear on the handles. The accumulated evidence of stone being shaped, A mallet lies beside the chisels, wood, dense, heavy enough to drive the chisel into marble, but not so heavy that control is lost. The mallet's head is scarred, compressed, the wood fibers broken and compacted by thousands of strikes. Stone fragments litter the floor around the marble block. Chips and chunks removed in the process of revealing the figure. Some pieces are small, dust and fragments barely larger than grains. Some are substantial. Pieces the size of a fist or larger, showing clearly where they were separated from the block. You pick up one of the larger fragments. It is heavy for its size, dense. The marble is solid, compressed, nothing like the porous stones used for building. This is stone chosen for its quality, for its ability to be carved, for its beauty when polished. The fragment shows chisel marks, parallel lines where the tool cut through. The marks are precise, intentional, each one removing a small amount of stone, the accumulation of many marks creating the larger removal of material. You set the fragment down. Look again at the emerging figure in the block. The face is not yet defined. The head is present as a shape, as a volume, but the features are absent. Where eyes will be, there is only stone. Where a mouth will eventually suggest expression, there is only the rough indication of a plane, but the proportions are there. The sculptor knows where the face will be, has measured, has marked, has begun the slow process of removal that will eventually create the illusion of flesh in stone. One arm is more developed than the rest. The shoulder is clearly defined. The upper arm shows muscle structure. The forearm is beginning to emerge, but the hand is still trapped in stone, still waiting for the delicate work that hands require. You think about the process, about how sculpture is different from painting. Painting is additive. You add paint to canvas, layer upon layer, building up, creating something from nothing. Sculpture is subtractive. You remove stone, chip away, cut away, reveal what was hidden. The figure exists in a stone already, in theory. The sculptor simply removes everything that is not the figure. But that theory does not account for decisions, for the countless choices made in the process. Where to cut, how deep, what to leave, what to remove. The figure emerges, not because it was waiting in the stone, but because the sculptor creates it through removal. A measuring tool lies on the bench, calipers, iron arms that can be adjusted and locked, used for transferring measurements, for ensuring proportions are correct, for checking that both sides of a symmetrical figure match. Beside the calipers, drawings, paper pinned to a board, sketches of the figure from multiple angles, front, side, back. The drawings show the intended result, the guide for the sculptor to follow. Or deviate from, if the stone suggests a different approach. The drawings are detailed, muscles indicated, bones suggested beneath skin, drapery falling in carefully observed folds. The sculptor has studied bodies, has looked at how they stand, how they balance, how weight shifts from one leg to another. You notice a smaller finished piece on a shelf, a hand, just a hand. Carved in the same white marble, life-sized, every detail present, the fingers slightly curved, the knuckles showing structure, the tendons visible beneath the surface. This is a study, practice. The sculptor learning how to carve hands before attempting them on the larger work. Understanding the complexity, the relationship between bone and flesh and skin. The way light catches knuckles and fingernails, and the soft web between fingers. The finished hand is beautiful, more than beautiful. It is convincing. It looks as though it could move, could grasp, could feel. but it is stone, cold, hard, unchanging. Moonlight enters through a high window, not strong, not direct, just the ambient glow of night, made slightly brighter by a moon you cannot see. The moonlight falls across the marble block, creating subtle shifts in value. The emerging figure shows differently in moonlight than in candlelight, neither better nor worse, just different. You imagine the sculptor at work, standing before the block, chisel in one hand, mallet in the other, looking, always looking, seeing what is there and what is not yet there, deciding where to strike next. The work is physical. The arm swings, the mallet strikes, the chisel bites into stone, fragments fly, dust rises, the sound echoes in the studio, sharp, rhythmic. The percussion of creation, and between strikes, stillness, assessment, the sculptor stepping back, looking from different angles, checking proportions, feeling the surface with hands that know stone intimately. Hours pass this way, days, weeks, the figure emerging slowly, too slowly to see progress in the moment. But over time, the transformation is undeniable. Stone becomes form, form becomes figure, figure becomes something that seems almost alive. But that is in the future, the completion. The moment when the last chips are removed and the surface is polished and the figure stands free of the block. Now the stone waits, the chisel rests, the mallet lies still. The sculptor is elsewhere, the work is incomplete, the figure is trapped between what it was and what it will become. Stillness before transformation. That is what this studio holds. The pause in the process, the night between days of work, the moment when nothing is moving but everything is potential. You move towards the door, the marble remains, the dust settles, the candle continues burning. The studio holds its stone and its tools and its incomplete figure. Outside the night continues, and somewhere in the city the sculptor rests, or does not rest. Perhaps lies awake, thinking about tomorrow, about the next cut, about the form slowly emerging from stone. The room is smaller than the others, more intimate. The ceiling is lower. The walls are lined with shelves, and the shelves are filled with books. Not many books, a dozen, perhaps 20. Each one represents months of work, months of preparation and copying and binding. Books are rare, precious, each one a repository of knowledge, of ideas, of accumulated human understanding. The books rest on the shelves, their spines showing, leather, dark with age. Some with titles pressed or painted into the leather, some unmarked, their contents known only to the person who owns them. A desk occupies the center of the room, wood, simple, but well made. The surface is angled slightly, creating a slope that makes writing easier, that allows the scribe to see the page clearly without hunching. On the desk, an open manuscript, parchment, not paper. Animal skin prepared and stretched and scraped until it is thin and smooth and capable of holding ink. The parchment is cream-colored, not white. The natural tone of the skin showing through the preparation. The manuscript shows writing, Latin, probably. You cannot read it in this light, cannot distinguish individual letters clearly. But you can see the script, careful, regular. Each letter formed with attention, with the understanding that this text will be read by others, will be preserved, will carry meaning forward through time. The ink is black, or very dark brown, made from oak galls and iron salts, a recipe used for centuries, an ink that darkens as it dries, that bonds with the parchment, that resists fading. The last line of text is still wet. You can see it glistening slightly in the candlelight. The ink has been applied recently, minutes ago, perhaps an hour. The manuscript is in the process of being copied, or created, or both, text being composed and written simultaneously. A quill rests beside the manuscript. A feather, goose, probably. The shaft is hollow. The tip has been cut at an angle, creating a nib that holds ink and releases it in controlled amounts. The quill shows use. The feather is slightly bent. The nib is stained with ink, but it is cared for, maintained. The quill is an extension of the hand, the tool through which thought becomes visible mark on page. An inkwell sits near the edge of the desk. Glass, dark. The ink inside is invisible in this light, but you know it is there. The well is nearly full, enough ink for many more pages, for many more hours of work. Beside the inkwell, a small knife. Sharp blade, wooden handle. This is for sharpening the quill, for cutting away the nib when it becomes dull or damaged, for creating the precise angle that allows ink to flow properly, and for scraping, for removing errors. Parchment can be scraped. The surface can be gently removed, taking the ink with it, allowing correction. The process leaves a thin spot, a place where the parchment is slightly more translucent. But the text can be corrected, mistakes can be erased. A candle burns on the desk, close to the manuscript, but not so close that flame could reach parchment. The candle provides focused light, illumination exactly where it is needed. The rest of the room can remain in shadow. Only the page matters. You look more closely at the manuscript. There are illustrations, not throughout, just here and there, small drawings in the margins. A decorative initial at the beginning of a section. A diagram showing the relationship between concepts. The illustrations are delicate, precise, drawn with the same quill used for text, or perhaps with a finer quill. The lines are thin, the shapes are clear. The drawings serve the text, clarify it, support it. One illustration shows geometric shapes, circles, triangles, lines intersecting at specific angles. This is mathematics, made visible, or astronomy, or optics. The diagram is a tool for understanding, a way of seeing relationships that words alone cannot fully convey. The colors in the illustration are faint, red-blue, gold, applied carefully, not filling entire areas but accenting, highlighting, drawing the eye to important elements. The pigments for these colors sit on a small shelf beside the desk. Dry powder in tiny containers, each color separate, each one mixed with binder only when needed, used sparingly because colored pigments are expensive, imported, difficult to obtain. More manuscripts rest on the shelf below the desk, rolled, tied with cord. These are finished, or abandoned, or waiting for continuation. Each roll contains text, ideas, knowledge copied or created here in this room. You think about the work, about sitting at this desk hour after hour, dipping the quill, forming letters, maintaining consistency, staying focused on accuracy. One mistake can ripple through the text, can change meaning, can introduce error that propagates when the manuscript is copied again. The work requires attention, concentration, a kind of meditation, the mind focused on the text, on the formation of letters, on the meaning being transcribed or composed, and quiet. This work happens in quiet, in rooms like this where sound is minimal, where distraction is limited, where thought can unfold without interruption. Candlelight reflecting on vellum, that image captures something, the soft glow, the cream-colored parchment, the dark ink drying slowly. The sense of work happening in intimate space, in controlled conditions, in the careful application of mind to material. On another shelf, more books, but these are different, not manuscripts. Printed books, recent acquisitions, made with the new technology, movable type, multiple copies from a single setting of metal letters. The printed books are thinner than the manuscripts, paper rather than parchment, bound simply, but they contain the same kind of content, text, ideas, knowledge. You notice the difference between the manuscript and the printed book. The manuscript is unique, one copy, created by hand, containing the small variations, the personality, the individual character of the scribe's hand. The printed book is reproducible. Identical copies can be made. The text is standardized, the letters uniform, the variation removed in favor of consistency. Both have value, both serve purposes, but they represent different relationships between maker and object, different processes, different possibilities. A diagram lies half-drawn on a separate sheet of parchment, circles, lines radiating from a central point, calculations in the margins. This is work in progress, thinking made visible, the process of understanding something through drawing it, through working it out on the page. The diagram is not for publication, not for copying. It is private, exploratory, the kind of thinking that happens when the mind engages directly with a problem. When understanding comes through the act of drawing, of calculating, of testing ideas on paper. You look again at the open manuscript, at the wet ink, at the careful script, at the hours of work represented in each page, thoughts captured mid-formation. That is what this room contains. Ideas in the process of being fixed in ink, knowledge being preserved, understanding being communicated across time and space through marks on parchment. The work continues even when the scribe is absent. The manuscripts remain. The tools wait. The shelf holds its books and rolls of parchment. The room is ready, prepared, holding the materials and space for thought to become text. A window shows night outside, stars visible through old glass. The same stars that have been observed and studied and wondered about for centuries. The same sky that has prompted questions and calculations and the search for understanding. Inside this room, some of those questions are being worked through. Not all, not the complete answers. A vast basis, fragments, the slow accumulation of knowledge that happens through careful study, through observation, through thought. The candle burns steadily, the ink continues drying. The manuscript waits for the next line to be written. The room holds its quiet concentration, its patient dedication to the work of thought and text. You are outside again, walking. The city around you is different now. The buildings have changed. The streets are wider. The air carries a different scent. Water. You are near the canals, waterways that thread through the city, carrying boats and goods and the slow traffic of commerce. But not now. Now at night, the canals are still. You reach a bridge, stone, arched, rising from one bank to the other in a gentle curve. The bridge is narrow, wide enough for a cart, but not for two carts to pass each other. During the day, this creates delays, negotiation, the dance of who yields and who continues. But now the bridge is empty. No carts, no people, just stone and air and the darkness of night. You walk onto the bridge. The stone underfoot is smooth, worn. Centuries of feet and wheels have polished it. The surface shows in moonlight, pale, almost luminous. You reach the center of the bridge. Stop. Look down. The canal below is dark. The water is black, or appears black in this light. During the day, you might see through the surface, might see the bottom in shallow places, might see fish, might see the green growth that clings to the stone walls of the canal. Man, now you see only darkness. The water is a void, present but invisible, known only by its position, by the way it defines the space between the banks. And yet the water is not completely black. Reflections appear on its surface. Moonlight, diffuse. The moon is somewhere above, hidden behind buildings or clouds, but its light reaches the water, touches the surface, creates a faint glow, not bright, not clear, just enough to distinguish water from stone. Buildings reflect too. The facades that line the canal, their shapes are doubled in the water, distorted, rippled slightly by movement you cannot see. The reflections are darker than the buildings themselves, shadow reflecting shadow. A gondola is tied to a post near the canal wall. The boat rocks gently, some slight movement in the water. Current or wind, or simply the boat settling. The rocking is almost imperceptible, a small motion repeated endlessly. The gondola is empty. The curved prow points along the canal. The seat where passengers would sit is bare. The oar is stowed. The boat waits, rests, serves no purpose, until morning when it will be used again. You watch the boat for a moment, the gentle rocking. The way it tugs slightly at the rope that holds it. The boat wants to drift, wants to follow the canal wherever the water flows, but the rope holds, keeps the boat in place, prevents wandering. More gondolas are visible farther along the canal, all tied, all empty, all resting through the night. During the day, these boats carry people and goods, move constantly, navigate the network of canals that serves as the city's streets. But now they are still. The water is still. The city pauses. You continue across the bridge. The stone rises beneath your feet, then falls as you descend the other side. The curve is gentle but noticeable. The bridge is old, built when this city was young, or younger. The stone has held for generations, will hold for generations more. On the far side of the bridge, you stop again. Look back. The bridge creates a frame, an arch through which you can see the canal continuing. More buildings, more reflections, more darkness punctuated by the faint glow of moonlight on water. The city breathes softly. And what it feels like, the stillness is not dead stillness, not absence, but gentle presence. The city exists, continues, holds its people and buildings and canals and bridges, but quietly, without urgency, without noise. You think about how water changes a city, creates routes, enables commerce, provides beauty. The canals are functional, necessary, but they are also lovely. The way buildings reflect in water, the way bridges curve over open space, the way boats move in patterns that are both purposeful and graceful. During the day, the practical dominates. Boats carry goods. Water enables transport. The canals work. But at night, the aesthetic emerges. The beauty that exists alongside function. The reflections, the stillness, the quiet. You walk along the canal path. Stone here too. A walkway running beside the water. During the day, this path is busy. People loading and unloading boats, walking, conducting business. The canal path is social space, commercial space, active space. Now it is empty. Your footsteps echo slightly against the water. The sound carries, bounces, returns altered. Another bridge appears ahead, different from the first. This one has buildings on it, shops, closed now, shuttered, But during the day, the bridge is a marketplace, a place where the function of crossing water and the function of selling goods combine. The bridge buildings create a tunnel. You walk into it. The enclosed space changes the sound. Your footsteps are louder here. The echo is more pronounced. The darkness is more complete. No moonlight reaches this covered section. You emerge on the other side. The canal continues. More buildings, more reflections, more stillness. A palazzo rises on the canal bank. Grand, multiple stories, windows with intricate stonework, balconies overlooking the water. This is wealth, power, the home of someone important, someone with resources, someone whose name might be known throughout the city. But the palazzo is dark now, all windows shuttered, all balconies empty. Wealth sleeps the same as poverty, requires rest, yields to night. The reflection of the palazzo in the water is clearer than other reflections. The building is larger, closer to the water. The moonlight catches its facade more directly. The image in the water is substantial, almost as present as the building itself. You think about doubling, about how reflections create a second city. An inverted city that exists only in water, that disappears when the water moves, that changes with light and angle and weather. The reflected city is more fragile than the real city, more temporary, but also more beautiful, softened by water, given mystery by darkness, made poetic by its own impermanence. You continue walking. The canal curves. You follow it. More bridges, more buildings, more gondolas tied and waiting. The pattern repeats, not monotonous. Each bridge is different. Each building has character, but similar, variations on themes. The city is built on water. Stone and wood rising from marsh and lagoon. The foundations are wooden piles, driven deep into mud. The buildings rest on these piles. The entire city is a construction that defies the softness of the ground beneath it. But the defiance is quiet. The city does not fight the water. It incorporates water, uses water, becomes a city of water as much as a city of stone. A cat walks along the canal edge, moving carefully, confident. The cat knows these paths, knows the city at night, knows where to step and where to avoid. The cat pauses, looks at the water, considering, then continues. The moment of interest passes. The cat has other destinations. You reach a wider section of the canal, almost a basin. Several canals meet here. During the day, this is a busy intersection. Boats waiting, negotiating passage, the water filled with movement. Now it is still. The water in the basin barely moves. The surface is almost mirror-like. The reflections are clearer here, more complete. Buildings on all sides reflected, bridges reflected, even the sky, faintly visible in the dark water. You stand at the edge, look down. Your own reflection appears, barely visible, a dark shape against dark water. But there, present, another doubling. The night continues, the water continues, the city continues its slow breathing, in and out, expansion and contraction, the rhythm of a place that lives and rests and lives again. You turn away from the canal, walk back into the narrower streets. The water remains, the bridges remain, the gondolas remain tied and waiting. The reflections remain on the still surface. The city breathes, softly, endlessly, and the water holds it all, supports it, reflects it, becomes part of what the city is. You have moved away from the canals. The streets here are residential, quieter than the commercial areas. narrower than the grand avenues. These are the streets where people live, where homes exist in the spaces between workshops and markets and churches. The buildings rise 3, sometimes 4 stories, stone on the ground level, plaster and timber above. The upper floors overhang the street slightly, creating shelter, creating the sense that the buildings lean toward each other, conspiring in the darkness. Windows appear at regular intervals. Most are shuttered, dark. The families inside have retired, children sleeping, adults sleeping. The day's work finished, tomorrow's work not yet begun. But some windows show light, faint, warm, the orange glow of candles or oil lamps burning inside. These are the windows of people still awake, still working, still thinking in the hours when most of the city rests. You stop beneath one of these windows, look up. The light comes from the second floor. The shutters are open just slightly, not wide, just enough to allow air to circulate, to allow some connection between inside and outside. You cannot see into the room. The angle is wrong. The light is too dim, but you can imagine what is there. A desk, probably. Books, paper. A person bent over their work, writing or reading or thinking. Ideas rarely announce themselves. They arrive quietly, in moments like this, in rooms lit by single candles, in minds that are focused and calm and patient enough to notice the thoughts that emerge from the interaction between what is known and what is being considered. You continue walking. More windows, more faint lights, each one marking a person awake, a mind active, a consciousness engaged with something that matters enough to stay awake for. What are they doing, these wakeful people? Some are writing, letters perhaps, or treatises, or poetry, the act of putting words on paper, of capturing thoughts before they fade, of communicating across distance or time. Some are reading, books borrowed or owned, texts that require attention, that cannot be absorbed casually, that demand engagement. The kind of reading that happens in quiet, in solitude, in the deep hours when distraction is minimal. Some are calculating, working through mathematics or accounting, or the problems of engineering and architecture. Numbers arranged in columns, relationships between quantities explored, understanding sought through the manipulation of abstract symbols. Some are simply thinking, no writing, no reading, just sitting, looking at the candle flame or out the window or at nothing in particular, allowing the mind to wander, to make connections, to discover patterns that cannot be forced, but only noticed. The windows reveal nothing specific, but they reveal presence, consciousness, the ongoing work of minds that do not stop when the sun sets. You pass a corner house. 2 windows show light, one on the second floor, one on the third. Different rooms, different people, or the same person moving between rooms. You cannot know. The light on the third floor is dimmer, farther from the street. The candle smaller or the room larger. The glow is barely visible, a suggestion more than a certainty. A shutter moves slightly. Not opening, not closing, just shifting. The wind, perhaps, or someone adjusting it from inside. The movement is small, brief, then stillness returns. You think about privacy, about how these windows mark the boundary between public and private, between the shared space of the street and the intimate space of the room. During the day, shutters might be open wide, allowing light in, allowing neighbors to see and be seen. But at night, the shutters close. The boundary becomes firm. What happens inside stays inside. The lit window announces presence, but not content. You know someone is there, You do not know what they are doing, and that privacy is sacred, necessary. The space where individual thought can develop without scrutiny, where ideas can be tried and discarded, where mistakes can be made without witnesses, where the work of the mind can proceed at its own pace. You reach a small plaza, not large, just a widening where several streets meet. A fountain stands in the center, silent now. The water turned off for the night or simply dry. The basin empty except for leaves and debris. Buildings surround the plaza. More windows, more scattered lights. The plaza acts as a courtyard for the buildings around it, a shared space. During the day, children might play here. Adults might gather and talk. Commerce might happen on a small scale. But now it is empty. The space exists in potential, ready for use, but not being used. One window on the ground floor shows light, brighter than the others. The shutters are fully open. You can see inside, not clearly, not in detail, but enough to see room, a table, shelves, a person moving. The person stops at the table, leans over something, stays in that position, reading, you think, or examining something. Their posture suggests concentration, focus. Then they move away, disappear from view. The window shows only the room now, empty except for furniture and the items on the shelves. You look away. The invasion of privacy, even accidental, feels uncomfortable. The window was open, the light was visible, but the act of watching still feels wrong, voyeuristic. The room is not for you. The person's work is not for you. You continue around the plaza. More streets branch off. You choose one. The pattern continues. Buildings, windows, most dark, some lit. A cat sits in a window on the ground floor, silhouetted against the light from inside. The cat is still, watching the street, watching you. The cat's eyes catch the light, reflect it. Two small points of green in the darkness. You stop. Look at the cat. The cat looks at you. Neither of you moves. The moment extends. A brief connection, acknowledgement of mutual presence. Then the cat looks away, loses interest, settles into a different position. The connection breaks. You continue walking. You pass a window where books are visible, shelves of them. Even from the street, even in dim light, you can see the spines, the shapes, the accumulated weight of bound pages. This is a scholar's home, or a wealthy person who collects books, or someone who values knowledge enough to spend resources acquiring it. The books represent access to minds separated by distance and time, to ideas developed in other places, to knowledge accumulated over centuries. Each book is a connection, a thread linking the reader to the writer, linking the present to the past. And in the city, at this time, books are becoming more available. The printing press is spreading. The cost is decreasing. What was once rare is becoming less rare, still expensive, still precious, but more accessible than ever before. The change is gradual, but it is happening, and it will change everything. Will change how knowledge spreads, how ideas circulate, how many people can access the thoughts preserved in text. But that is the future, or the beginning of the future. Now, in this moment, books are still mostly handmade, still copied by scribes, still rare enough that a shelf of them is notable. You continue walking. The streets curve and wind. The windows continue to appear, most dark, some lit. The pattern is random, unpredictable. Each lit window a small mystery, a small story happening behind glass and shutter. You think about the collective activity of the city, all the minds working, all the thoughts being thought, all the words being written and read, all the calculations being performed, all the quiet concentration happening in hundreds of rooms throughout the city. During the day, much of this work happens in public or semi-public spaces, in workshops, in markets, in guild halls, where others can see and interact and influence. But at night, where work becomes private, the individual, the thinker alone with their thoughts, the reader alone with their book, the writer alone with their page. And in that solitude, certain kinds of work become possible. The deep thinking that requires uninterrupted time, the slow development of complex ideas, the patient working through of difficult problems. The city enables this, provides the space, provides the quiet, provides the candles and oil lamps and the materials of thought. And in return, the city benefits from the ideas generated, from the work completed, from the accumulated intellectual effort of its wakeful inhabitants. A window on a high floor goes dark. The candle extinguished. Someone finished their work, or decided to stop, or simply grew too tired to continue. The light vanishes. The window becomes like the others, dark, private, sealed. You reach the end of the street, another plaza, larger this time. A church stands on one side, dark, silent, but present. The church marks the center of this neighborhood, provides orientation, provides meaning, provides the structure around which other buildings organize themselves. More windows face the plaza, more lights, but fewer than before. The night is deepening. Even those who stay awake must eventually sleep. You think about tomorrow, about how these windows will open with daylight, how the shutters will be thrown wide, how the city will wake and resume its public life, how the private work of night will feed into the shared work of day. But that is tomorrow. Now is still night, still the time of private thought, still the hours when ideas develop quietly, when minds work alone, when windows glow with the light of individual consciousness. The city breathes. And in that breathing, in the rhythm of day and night, of public and private, of shared and solitary, something is being created, not all at once, not dramatically, just slowly, steadily. The accumulation of countless individual efforts into something larger than any single person could achieve. You have climbed. The streets rose gradually, but consistently, leading you upward through the city. The buildings here are older. The stone is weathered differently. You are near the highest point, where the city began, perhaps, where the first structures were built. A tower rises ahead, not a church tower, something else, a civic building, or a wealthy family's palazzo. The tower is tall, narrow, built for height rather than breadth. You find the entrance. The door is unlocked. You push it open. Inside, darkness, but stairs are visible. Stone, spiraling upward. You begin climbing. The stairs are worn. Countless feet have shaped them. The center of each step is noticeably lower than the edges. Centuries of walking concentrated in the middle, wearing away stone that seemed permanent. The spiral is tight. Your hand touches the wall as you climb. The stone is cool, rough. You cannot see far ahead, just the next few steps, the curve of the spiral hiding what comes after. You climb slowly. There is no hurry. The stairs continue, around and around. The exercise is meditative, rhythmic, step after step, the body finding its pace. Light appears above, faint, not sunlight, not artificial light, something else. You continue climbing toward it. The stairs end. You emerge onto the top of the tower, a platform, open to the sky, low walls around the perimeter. Nothing overhead except air and stars. The city spreads below, vast, more extensive than you realize. The buildings create a landscape of roofs and towers and domes. The streets are mostly invisible from this height, just the structures, the accumulated architecture of centuries. But you do not look down, not yet. You look up, the sky, black, but not empty, filled with stars, more stars than you can count, more stars than you knew existed. The darkness between them is profound, absolute, but the stars themselves are points of light, scattered, seemingly random, creating patterns that the mind tries to organize into meaning. You recognize some patterns, the constellations, the familiar shapes taught and named and passed down through generations, the Great Bear, the Hunter, the Twins. Names given to arrangements of stars that are not actually close together, not related, just appearing close from this particular vantage point in space and time. But most stars resist organization, fall outside the named patterns, exist as individual points, each one a sun, each one distant beyond comprehension. Each one burning with the same fusion that powers the sun that warms the earth by day. You do not know this, cannot know this. The understanding of stars as distant suns will come later, much later. For now, they are lights in the sky, mysteries, objects of wonder and speculation. But questions exist. Even without answers, questions exist. What are the stars? Why do they move as they do? Why do they maintain their patterns night after night, year after year? What holds them in place? What causes their light? And deeper questions about the nature of the cosmos, about the Earth's place in it, about whether the Earth is the center, such tradition holds, or something else, something less central, something that moves rather than remaining still. These questions are dangerous, challenge tradition, challenge authority, challenge the accepted understanding of how the universe is structured, but they are being asked, here in this city, in other cities, by people who observe carefully, who measure, who calculate, who trust observation more than received wisdom. The revolution has not happened yet. A full shift in understanding is decades away, centuries away. But the questions are being formed. The observations are being made. The foundation is being laid. A shooting star appears, bright, brief, a streak across the sky, then gone. The phenomenon is sudden, unexpected, already over by the time you fully register it. What was that? Where did it come from? Where did it go? More questions, added to the endless list of things that are seen but not understood. You think about the people throughout the city, some of them looking up at this same sky, some of them asking the same questions, some of them making notes, drawing diagrams, calculating angles and positions, and trying to find patterns that might reveal understanding. The work is patient, observational. It requires clear nights, requires instruments for measuring, requires time and dedication, and the willingness to sit in cold and dark and simply watch. But people do it because the questions matter, because understanding matters, because the human mind is not content with mystery, seeks explanation, seeks pattern, seeks the principles that govern what is observed. The moon appears from behind a building, not full, 3/4 perhaps, the crescent of shadow visible at one edge. The moonlight is bright enough to dim the stars nearby, bright enough to cast faint shadows on the platform where you stand. The moon's surface shows texture. Even without instruments, even with the naked eye, you can see that the moon is not smooth, not a perfect sphere. It has features, dark areas, lighter areas, patterns that remain constant, that show the same face, night after night. Why does the moon always show the same face? Why does it never rotate to reveal the other side? More questions. Questions that have answers, but the answers are not yet known, not yet discovered, not yet proven. The cathedral dome is visible from here, rising above the surrounding buildings. The dome is an achievement of engineering, of mathematics, of understanding how forces distribute through structure, of knowing how to build something that appears impossible, but stands nonetheless. The dome exists because someone asked questions. How can we span this space? How can we create a roof over this vast interior without internal supports? How can we make stone defy its weight? And someone found answers through calculation, through experiment, through the patient application of understanding to material reality. The dome and the stars are connected, not obviously, not directly, but through the same impulse, the same desire to understand, the same willingness to question, the same faith that observation and reason can lead to knowledge. You look back at the stars, try to imagine the distances, fail. The numbers are too large, the concept too vast. The stars appear close, reachable, as if you could climb higher and touch them, but they are not close. They are separated from the earth by emptiness so vast that light, the fastest thing in the universe, takes years to cross it, centuries, millennia. Some of the light you are seeing left its source before the city existed, before humans had language. The stars you observe might no longer exist, might have died while their light still travels toward you. You do not know this, cannot know this. The understanding will come, but later, much later. For now, you simply observe the sky, the stars, the patterns and the mysteries, the questions without answers. The night asks. That is what it feels like. The darkness itself is interrogative. The stars pose questions simply by existing, by being there, by moving in their precise and predictable patterns, by maintaining their relationships to each other across time. The city listens. Below you, in rooms lit by candles, people are thinking about these questions. Not all of them, not most of them, but some, enough. The questions are being asked. The observations are being made. The slow work of understanding is happening. The wind moves across the platform, cold, carrying the scent of the sea. The city is not far from water, from the larger water, the ocean, the vast expanse that connects this place to other places, that allows travel and trade and the exchange of ideas. The wind reminds you that you are exposed, that the tower provides height, but not shelter, that the night is cold and growing colder. But you remain a moment longer, looking up, letting the questions exist without demanding answers, letting the mystery be mystery. The stars continue. The moon continues its slow arc across the sky. The night continues, and you stand on the tower, small beneath the vastness, watching, wondering, present in the moment when questions matter more than answers. The sky is changing, not dramatically, not suddenly, just gradually, so gradually that you cannot point to the moment when the change began. But it is happening. The black is becoming less absolute. The darkness is thinning. You have descended from the tower, returned to the streets. Your feet carry you without conscious direction, through the maze of stone and shadow, past shuttered windows, past silent fountains, past the accumulated architecture of a city that has existed for centuries. The sky above is lighter than it was. Not light, not yet, but the black has shifted toward dark blue, toward gray. The stars are dimmer, still visible, but losing their intensity, beginning their daily disappearance into the light that will eventually overwhelm them. You find yourself near a workshop, perhaps the same one from earlier, perhaps a different one. They are similar enough that in darkness, in the pre-dawn hours, distinction is difficult. The door is closed, but a window shows faint light, not candlelight, something else. The beginning of dawn reflected inside, or perhaps a candle is still burning, left from the night, forgotten or intentionally kept alight. You look through the window. The workshop inside is dim. The shapes of canvases are visible, leaning against walls. The workbench shows as a dark mass. The tools are invisible, too small to distinguish in this light, but the paint is there. You know it is there, on pallets, on canvases, wet or dry. The accumulated work of artists who will return with daylight and continue what they started. Marble dust settling. You think of the sculpture studio, the fine powder that covered everything. By now it has settled. The air is clear. The dust rests on the floor, on the tools, on the block of emerging marble, waiting to be disturbed again when the sculptor returns and chisel meets stone. Ink fully dried. The manuscript is complete for today, or for this night. The ink that was wet hours ago has dried, has bonded with the parchment, has become permanent. The words will remain. The ideas will be preserved. The next session of work will add to what is already there, but will not undo it. You walk through a market square, the same one from earlier, or one very similar. The space is still empty, but it feels different, less settled, as if the emptiness is temporary, as if activity is approaching, as if the pause is ending. Canvas waiting for daylight. The unfinished paintings, the sketches, the compositions blocked out but not completed, all of it waits for the return of natural light, for the sun that will reveal colors truly, that will show the work as it actually is rather than how it appears in candlelight. Artificial light distorts, changes colors, makes judgment difficult. Artists work by candlelight when they must. When the impulse is strong, when the idea cannot wait, but they prefer daylight. Trust daylight. Know that daylight shows truth. The sky continues to lighten. The transition is steady, inevitable. The sun is still below the horizon, but its approach is certain. The light that precedes it is growing, spreading, claiming more of the sky. Buildings become more distinct. Details that were invisible emerge. The texture of stone, the pattern of bricks, the iron fixtures on doors. The city is revealing itself, becoming visible, returning from the simplification of darkness to the complexity of light. A bird calls, distant, faint, the first sound of waking. Not a song yet, just a single note, testing, announcing, marking the approaching day. The sound is joined by another, a different bird, a different note. The two sounds exist together, not harmonious, not coordinated, just simultaneous. Two consciousnesses marking the dawn in their own ways. You think about the work that has happened through the night, in studios and workshops and rooms throughout the city, the painting, the carving, the writing, the reading, the thinking, the questioning, the slow accumulation of creative and intellectual effort, none of it finished, all of it in process. The Renaissance, if this moment could be called that, is not a completion, is not an achievement to point to and say, there, it is done. It is process, ongoing, distributed across hundreds or thousands of individuals, each one contributing, each one working on their own piece, not coordinated, not organized from above. Just individuals pursuing their own questions, their own visions, their own understandings, and somehow, from that distributed, uncoordinated effort, something is emerging. Something that will be recognized later, that will be named and studied and celebrated, but that exists now only as potential, as work in progress, as paint still wet and marble still trapped in stone and ink recently dried. The dawn will come. You know this. The sky confirms it. The lightning continues. The stars are nearly gone now. Only the brightest remain, and they too will fade, will disappear into the blue that is replacing the black. But this moment is softer, the transition, the between, the time when night has not quite ended and day has not quite begun, when both exist simultaneously, when the city is suspended between states. A shutter opens. The sound is clear in the quiet. Wood scraping against wood, someone inside preparing for the day, or simply opening the window to see what kind of morning is arriving. More shutters open. The city is waking, not all at once, not suddenly, but gradually as the sky is lightening, person by person, room by room, the consciousness of the city returning. You reach the canal. The water is visible now. Not the black void it was at night, but dark blue, gray. The reflections are clearer, buildings showing in the surface, the sky showing, the approaching light showing. A gondola rocks its mooring. The movement is more visible now. You can see the boat, see the rope, see the post it is tied to. The details that darkness hid are returning. The gondolier will arrive soon, will untie the boat, will take up the oar, will begin the day's work, ferrying people and goods through the network of canals. But not yet, for now the boat rests, the water rests. The city rests in the last moments before activity resumes. You think about cycles, about how this happens every day, night into day, day into night. The rhythm that structures everything, that determines when work happens and when rest happens, that creates the alternation between public and private, between shared and solitary, between action and reflection. The cycle is ancient, was here before the city, will be here after. The city exists within the cycle, adapts to it, uses it, creates its own rhythms that align with the larger rhythm of planetary rotation. The sky is definitely lighter now. The horizon shows a glow, not the sun yet, but the promise of the sun, the light that announces its arrival. Colors are returning. The stone is not just gray, but specific shades of tan and cream and brown. The water is not just dark, but reflects blues and greens. The shutters are painted colors that are beginning to show: red, blue, green. The city is becoming itself again, detailed, specific, real rather than suggested. You find yourself back at the plaza near the church. The facade is visible now, the carved figures, the details that were lost in darkness. The stone that was only mass at night is now texture and form and intentional shape. A bell rings, the first of the morning, calling prayers, calling the faithful, calling the beginning of the day. The sound carries across the city, bounces off stone, fills the air. Other bells will join it soon, creating the layered sound that marks morning in a Renaissance city. But for now, it is alone. The first voice, the beginning. You stand in the plaza, watch the sky, watch the city, watch the transition completing itself. The night is ending, the day is beginning. The work that happened in darkness will continue in light. The canvases will be seen clearly. The marble will be worked under natural illumination. The manuscripts will be read without squinting. The questions about the stars will wait for another night. But for now, in this moment, the city exists in perfect balance. Neither night nor day, neither sleeping nor fully awake, just breathing, just being. Just continuing its ancient rhythm of alternation between states. The dawn will arrive, but for now, the city remains in the soft light that comes before, the gentle illumination that reveals without harsh clarity, the transition that is, in its own way, the most beautiful time, when everything is becoming, when nothing is fixed, when the world is soft and possible and full of potential. The sun touches the horizon. You do not see it directly. The buildings block the view, but you see its effect. The sky shifts from blue-gray to orange. The clouds that were dark become bright. The city is suddenly washed in color, warm, golden, the color of beginning. Rooftops glow faintly. The tiles that were dark moments ago now catch the light. Terracotta, red and orange and brown. The roofs create a landscape above the streets, a topography of shelter and structure. From certain angles, from certain heights, the roofs are what define the city, not the streets, not the facades, but the accumulated covering of countless buildings. The light moves down the buildings, touches the upper floors first, then the windows below, then the streets, illuminating progressively, revealing the city layer by layer, top to bottom. The way dawn always arrives, studios silent, the workshops have not yet opened, the artists have not yet returned, the sculptors have not yet picked up their chisels. Work that will happen today has not yet begun. The spaces wait, empty, prepared, holding their materials and their incomplete works. But the silence is not permanent, is not final. It is just pause, the moment before resumption, the breath before continuation, ideas resting, in rooms throughout the city, on desks and tables, in books and manuscripts and sketches. The thoughts that were worked through during the night now rest, wait for daylight to be examined again, to be developed further, to be tested against the clarity that comes with morning. Some ideas will survive the transition, will seem as strong in daylight as they did by candlelight, will prove worthy of continued development. Some will not, will seem less certain, less important, will be reconsidered or modified or abandoned. The ideas that felt profound at midnight sometimes feel ordinary at dawn, but both outcomes are necessary. Both are part of the process. The generation of ideas, the testing of ideas, the selection and development of what survives testing. You walk through the awakening city. The streets are no longer empty. People appear, walking toward markets, toward workshops, toward churches, toward the places where their days will unfold. The people move with purpose, but without urgency. The day is beginning, but it is long. There is time. The rhythm is steady, practiced. The same rhythm as yesterday, as countless yesterdays before. A baker carries bread, loaves in a basket, still warm from the oven. The smell is overwhelming, yeast and wheat, and the essential scent of sustenance. The bread will be sold, will feed families, will provide energy for the work that will happen today. A cart passes, pulled by a horse. Wise, the wheels rattle on stone. The sound echoes. The cart is loaded with something covered by canvas. Goods to be delivered, materials to be transformed. The commerce of the city resuming. The gondolas are being untied. The gondoliers have arrived, are preparing their boats. The water will soon be filled with movement. With the traffic of a city built on canals, with the practical beauty of boats moving through narrow waterways, you reach a workshop. The door is opening. An apprentice appears, young. Carrying a bucket, going for water, probably, or disposing of something. The apprentice moves with the efficiency of routine, does not look around, just performs the task, and returns inside. Through the open door, you glimpse the interior, the workbench, the canvases, the tools, everything as it was hours ago, but different in the light, more real, more present, less mysterious. The artist will arrive soon, will assess yesterday's work, will decide what comes next, will mix paint or position canvas, or simply look for a while before beginning. The work will continue. The slow process of bringing vision into material form. You think about accumulation, about how change happens through countless small actions, each painting, each sculpture, each manuscript, each observation of the stars, each question asked and partially answered, each technique developed and refined, none of it revolutionary in the moment, none of it announcing itself as historically significant, just work, just the daily practice of people pursuing their crafts, their questions, their understandings. But over time, the accumulation creates something larger, creates a shift, creates what will later be recognized as a period of remarkable achievement, as the Renaissance, as a rebirth of learning and art and human possibility. But that recognition comes later, comes from outside, comes from people looking back and seeing patterns that were invisible to those living through them. For now, there is only this, the work, the process, the slow, patient, undramatic continuation of human creativity and curiosity. The church bells are ringing fully now. Multiple churches, multiple bells. The sound layers, creates rhythm, creates texture, the acoustic landscape of a Renaissance city morning. The bells mark time, structure the day, call people to prayer and work and gathering. The bells are ancient technology, simple, effective, unchanged for centuries, will remain unchanged for centuries more. You stand in a plaza and watch the city complete its transition from night to day, from rest to activity, from possibility to actuality. The morning has arrived. The work is beginning. The cycle continues. The world right before sunrise held something special, a quality of light, a quality of quiet, a sense of potential not yet committed to specific outcomes, the softness of between states, the gentleness of transition. But that moment is passing, has passed. The sun is above the horizon now. The light is full. The city is awake. The day has begun in all its complexity and specificity and demand. The work that happened in the night feeds into the work of the day, the thinking, the creating, the questioning. It does not stop. It transforms, becomes public where it was private, becomes shared where it was solitary, becomes part of the collective life of the city. And tonight, when the bells mark evening, and the sun sets, and the candles are lit again, the cycle will reverse. The public will become private again. The shared will become solitary. The work will continue in different form, in different light, with different qualities. The cycle is endless, has been endless, will continue to be endless. And within that cycle, within the alternation of night and day, something is being created, Not deliberately, not according to plan, just naturally, organically. The way things grow, when conditions are right, when minds are curious, when materials are available, when tradition is strong enough to provide foundation, but not so strong that it prevents innovation, the morning will arrive. It has arrived. But for now, for the moment you have witnessed, the city remained in candlelight, in the soft glow before dawn, in the quiet hours when work happens without witness, when ideas develop without announcement, when the future is being made by people who do not know they are making it. You turn away from the plaza, walk back into the narrowing streets. The city continues around you, growing louder, growing busier, growing more itself with every moment of increasing light. Behind you, the workshops wait, the studios wait, the rooms where thinking happens wait, empty now, but not for long. The artists will return, the sculptors will return, the scholars will return, the work will resume, the process will continue. The slow, patient, beautiful process of human creation, and you have been present for the pause, for the breath, for the moment when the night releases and the day receives, for the quiet that exists between, for the space where everything is possible and nothing is yet determined. The morning will continue, the day will unfold, the work will happen. But the night you witnessed will return, will always return, will bring its own light, its own quiet, its own possibilities. The cycle continues, the city breathes. The Renaissance, whether anyone calls it that or not, proceeds. One night, one day, one work, one idea, one question at a time, slowly, patiently, beautifully, forever.